Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to another video. And I just wanted to make a quick one talking about a game I just finished. Obviously it's right here, Atomic Heart, with the twin mommy on the cover. Couldn't fit the other one in there. That's fine, whatever, I'll take one. Yeah, I was super excited about this game. I have a whole playlist dedicated to just every reaction I've done for the last 5 years. That's right, since 2018, I've been watching trailers for this game, and I've been very excited for it. It took me about 3 weeks to finish because I'm really slow when it comes to games. I also play a lot of games at the same time, so I'm juggling like 4 or 5 games at the same time. This, Danganronpa 3, God of War Ragnarok, Hi-Fi Rush. What's the other game I'm playing? Something else. I think there's something else. And yeah, I'm just playing a lot of games. Oh, Metro Prime Remastered. So I'm like juggling so many games. I'm trying to finish them up before like more games come out later this month and later this year. Because good lord, there's so many. But yeah, I wanted to take my time anyway. And yeah, I guess I could tell you right here. I just finished it. Crazy ass ending, crazy ass story, insane dialogue. Very unique, and I had a really good time. I think gameplay wise, it's fun. A lot of people have been comparing it to BioShock. Even I have every time I've seen gameplay, but it really just feels more like just a shooter. A shooter that has really good mechanics, really fun abilities to use. Your shock abilities, your freeze abilities, your lift people in there and smash them down abilities, your little shield, your little goo that you can shoot all over. You can shoot goo all over the twins if you want. I know you want, so you can do it. I did it. Guilty. I shot the goo. So you have all these abilities. Some feel like BioShock for sure, but for the most part, it feels more like a shooter. Not that BioShock isn't a shooter. BioShock Infinite is definitely more of a shooter than I would say BioShock One. But I would say BioShock, just calling it a shooter is a little too. It's simplifying it a little bit too much. You know, there's obviously it's more of a sim almost like a sim shooter kind of thing. But I was really enjoying my time with Tom Hardy, even if it's not exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting more BioShock, but what it got was shooter with some great mechanics, an amazing world. I think the whole world that Atomic Heart presents is great. All the enemies are great, even though they reused those mutants a little bit too much. I will say the little plant head mutant guys, especially like the last half of the game. Like almost everybody I was fighting in the story, at least, was mutant guys. But all the robots are fun. They're all different. They all have unique abilities. So you have the guys that just run up to you and punch you. You have the guys that shoot from far away. You got the little drone guys that kind of like just kind of butt into you or repair the other robots around. You got the little guys with the chainsaw or the saw faces. So there's a lot of variety in the enemies for the most part. The worlds themselves are the world itself is very detailed. Like when you go into buildings, you'll see shit scattered everywhere. You'll see dead bodies everywhere in unique different like poses as they have died or whatever. So you could tell this is definitely a world that has been lived in, which I really like. So in a way, that's kind of another similarity to BioShock. Just gameplay wise and what you're doing throughout the game feels less like BioShock. BioShock was more like about the world itself, where this is still about the gameplay, but the world itself is very detailed. So, but BioShock was very much about like learning about the world, which I'm not saying Atomic Heart isn't. It's just that the more interesting part of the game, or at least the more engaging part, is the actual gameplay. So we'll get to the open world in a minute, but yeah. So like all the gameplay is really good. Graphically, it looks awesome. I love the way it looks. It looks great. All the little effects, all the little robots, how they blow up and stuff. All the action looks great. All the bosses look awesome. The world itself looks great. The first like hour of this game, at least for me, it took me a long time, maybe like 45 minutes. Is just set on this very Columbia-esque, like floating city in the sky, and everybody's having a good time, and it's very colorful. The art style is extremely striking. I could tell why it took a very long time for this game to come out, especially for a first-time studio like Munfish. It looks high budge. I'm sure it was high budge, and it was a really awesome first thing to open with, because it really sets the tone for like a very good-looking game. Now, it doesn't really go back to that open the big city place really, but it sets the tone for like a gorgeous world that you're gonna want to explore. That's a good way to start. I like a beginning like that, where you just roam around, you hear people talk, and they're doing their things. It's very much like Columbia's BioShock Infinite's beginning, where all these people are just having a good time, and then all of a sudden it's not so good anymore. A little different here because you're not really in that place to see it go to shit if it does, which it doesn't. But yeah, it's still a great beginning. But yeah, the gameplay is really fun. Point A to point B missions are pretty simple. A lot of them are like backtracking and get this item and bring it to this character and stuff like that. So it's not the most unique when it comes to mission objectives. There's a lot of go to this place and then you go into the place and it's more like a kind of a dungeon. Even though the world is open world, there are sections where you're just doing like you're pretty much just doing a dungeon, really. You're just like sectioned off, and there's a lot of routes you could take and stuff and secrets to unearth, but for the most part it's a pretty linear thing, kind of like a BioShock. I guess I'm comparing it a lot to BioShock, but whatever. I've been comparing it to BioShock for the last like 4 or 5 years, so it's going to be hard not to, even if gameplay-wise it doesn't quite feel like BioShock. Yeah, so you're sectioned off, and the objectives are pretty generic, like go find 3 canisters of this and bring it over here to open a door or something like that. And there's mini games throughout where you have to like open doors by doing these little mini games, which are actually kind of fun. I like them, but there's a lot of that. So what you're doing in the game isn't the most unique, but what really sets it apart from other things is not only the world and what you're fighting and the story, but our main character, P3, the Major, whatever you want to call him, Sergey. He has like 3 different names people call him. And your AI robot friend, Charles, who are very unique characters, but P3 especially if you're playing it with the English voice acting, which I'm sure everybody is. He is a weird character because this takes place in the 1950s. Now, to be fair, I mean, obviously 1950s, we didn't have any robots. You know, I don't know if you realize this, like really crazy AI and robots didn't really exist back then. We're barely getting them now. And the AI, all we have right now is the president's playing Uno. Like, that's about it on YouTube. Yeah, so we didn't have all that stuff. So having a character like P3 that acts like he's very modern and says like shit like, I don't give a wet fart and stuff like that. And he talks like almost like a dude bro. It doesn't fit with the time, but it does fit with the overall weird vibe of the entire game. And he is such a funny character. He's so I stutter on if he's a good character or not, because I think he is a solid character. I like him, but he's so weird. I don't know how to explain it more so than he's just odd, unique, and he is hilarious. Like, all right, you just gotta roll with me. If you haven't played this game, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But you can talk to dead bodies in this game. I'm not even gonna explain why. There's a reason in the context of what's happening in the story. But whenever you talk to a dead body, it's pretty much your character telling them like, "Hey, P3, hey, you're dead." And then the body's like, "What? I'm dead?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're fucked." Like, it's just like dialogue like that. And I couldn't help but laugh every time it happened. Also, crispy critters, that's just going to be that's 100% a catchphrase. I'm sorry. I like, they put it in every other sentence, and now I can't stop saying it. Crispy critters. I gotta say it. If you don't know what Crispy Critters is, look up Atomic Heart Crispy Critters. And I'm sure there's a compilation of all the times our fucking character says that. No, I don't know what it means. He just uses it as whenever he wants to react to something. He pretty much uses it as a, like, fuck, you know, like, fuck. And he says, Crispy Critters. What does it mean? I don't know. I'm sure people will explain it to me. It doesn't matter. Please explain the ending to me, too, because I'm like, oh. I'm like, what? I understood like 60% of that ending. I'm still confused about the 40%. And I'm talking about the I guess the bad ending of it. It's definitely worse than the good ending. The good ending, it's really, really funny what you have to do for the good ending, by the way. So yeah, and his interactions with Charles is actually kind of interesting because Charles really gives him a lot of like context of what's going on in the world, and a lot of the lore is actually pretty interesting. Like, I was actually sitting there like, oh, okay, I get it, but it's like Charles is talking to a child a lot of times, which in a way, as the story progresses, P3 does feel more like a child as you figure out pretty early in the story that he just doesn't have a lot of memory. Like, he forgot a lot about his life and stuff. So he almost is kind of like a newborn in a way, because but he acts like a child and a dude bro almost. But he's likable. I don't know. I enjoy listening to him talk. I don't know why. I guess it helps that the voice actor kind of sounds like Chris Evans a little bit. Like at times, I'm like, what? I like Chris Evans. He kind of sounds like him. And I don't agree with a lot of the people saying the voice acting is bad. I don't think it's bad. I think it fits perfectly for this game. I really do. The characters are all unique. They're all memorable. The dialogue is strange, and the characters are weird as shit. There's a fridge that you talk to that gives you upgrades, and she wants to fuck you really bad. So I mean, I don't even know what else to say. Nora is top tier characters. But the gameplay itself is a lot of fun. The shotgun feels good. The railgun feels good. If you get the freaking railgun, it took until like the last hour of the game until I got it. So I was like, fuck it, I'm using a lot of it now. So I just kept using it, getting my energy back, fucking firing that thing. The shotgun feels good. The assault rifle feels good. The pistols feel good. All the other energy weapons feel good. Like all the weapons feel solid, and I was using all of them throughout. The boss fights are pretty good. The twins are hot. And the game itself is fun. My main problem with it, this is my main problem with it, okay? I got all the way here to talk about my main problem, because everything is fun, but, everything's like, it's good, but it could be better. Some of the controls are a little weird. There's times where I get backed into a corner, which is really annoying, especially when I'm fighting some of the mutants. Like, I got backed into a corner so much where I couldn't move. Like, I had to I just shoot my way out. Like, I couldn't get out of the corner. Literally, I got backed into a corner multiple times and almost died because of it. So there's some issues there with some of the combat and some of the claustrophobic spaces. But my main problem is the open world itself. I didn't explore too much of the open world. I mean, I did. I spent probably a good couple hours exploring the open world. And it was fun just going around the world and, like, finding things. And, like, there's actually a lot to it, which I was surprised. Like, there's actually, like, sewer sections and stuff like that. So it's not just, like, one flat plane you're walking around in. There are things to do in the open world. My main problem with it is that it becomes you running away from robots because there's no point to fight them because you waste all your ammo, which ammo is like not the hardest thing to come by, but in the beginning of the game, especially the first like maybe 6 or 7 hours, it's a little hard to get some ammo, especially since you don't have like too many guns yet. So it becomes annoying to fight any of the enemies because you'll waste all your ammo, and most of the time you're not going to get a lot of ammo back. So you're wasting a lot of ammo fighting these enemies that don't really matter because it's just an open world and they're just going to respawn. There's ways to rectify that. You can find these little things where you could turn off all the robots around in the area and stuff, but it only lasts for like a couple minutes. So you can explore a little bit, but then they'll be back and stuff, and they're respawning because you have these little repair robots that repair all the robots if you're not paying attention. And there's cameras too, and if the cameras see you, then the alert level goes up, and then they just drop in robots to attack you. So it became really annoying. It was a lot of just running away from shit. So I didn't do a lot of the side objectives. There's like maybe like 10 I think test rooms. I did like I think 2 of them, and they're fun. They're puzzles, so you have to like think a little bit, but they're fun. But I didn't do a ton of them because I found the open world to be more of an annoyance than anything. So I did a couple of them. I want to give a couple tries, but for the most part, I didn't really do a lot of those. And also trying to find the test chambers is really annoying because you have to like open doors that are locked, and you have to do that by like getting to cameras and finding the door and stuff. It's a whole thing. So overall, I really like the Atomic Heart. It took a long time to get here. I'm just happy it didn't end up being a pile of shit. It was actually a fun game, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Mudfish does in the future. Tighten up some of that gameplay, tighten up maybe some of the open world stuff, and just keep being weird. Don't stop being weird. I like that stuff. I really do. And I would actually like to see what happens in the story next, because it definitely ends on a massive cliffhanger. So there you go. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you today. Oh, if I had to give it a score, I gave it an 8 out of 10 on Twitter, so I guess I'd stick with that. 8 out of 10, which is pretty damn good. That's a really good score. Yeah, I had a good time. 20-something hours, and I was feeling good by the end. I wasn't like, let's wrap this up. I was like, yeah, that was a good time. I like that. And also the music is great. Music's great. And not even just Mick Gordon's soundtrack or score. Just the soundtrack itself was great. I hope they release it on vinyl, because I would definitely get it. Anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you till next time. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.